All right, everybody. Happy Friday. We made it to the end of the week. We are almost to full NFL football action this Sunday. Had a game yesterday, have a game later today. So we've got some stuff going on, but we're all really thinking about Sunday afternoon right now. And this is a video that people have been asking for a little bit. I did this video right after the schedule came out, but that was months ago. So I should probably do another one. It's a game-by-game Seahawks schedule prediction. What games do I think we're going to win? What games do I think we're going to lose? And why? Now, if you watch my videos on Bleacher Report, I already put together a video over there. It's a 3-minute long video, so it goes very quickly, but I go through every game for the 2025 season. So if you follow me over there, you already know what I'm going to pick, but this will allow me to be a little bit more verbose in why I see things the way that I do. So I found this website, the playoffpredictors.com. They let me just go through the Seahawks schedule game by game and pick winners and losers. So this tool will do for our purposes. All right, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Gonna do my very best to figure this one out, but understand this stuff is very, very difficult. This is a sport where most games are close. Most games come down to the last few minutes, and there are very, very minor things that happen over the course of a football season that turn a 7-win team into a 10-win team and vice versa. Okay, with all that being said, first game coming up this Sunday, Niners versus Seahawks in Seattle. I think this is a pretty decent time to be catching the Niners. They've got big problems at wide receiver. They've got some issues potentially now with Christian McCaffrey, which would be a devastating loss for them. They really can't afford that. And defensively, they are very thin up front. That secondary does not intimidate me right now. There's a lot that they're working through. We are going to be getting the best version of George Kittle and Trent Williams because it's week 1. I will admit that. But I feel like this new look Seattle offense is good to go against a Niners team in this state that really doesn't have anything up front that we have to be worried about except for Bosa. I think we'll be able to run the ball. So I think Seattle takes the win and they start 1-0. All right, week 2, we travel to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers. I will say, and if you've been following football at all this offseason, you know the vibes have not been very good around the Steelers so far. The Aaron Rodgers stuff, the DK Metcalf stuff, it just hasn't felt right in Pittsburgh. I will admit that. And I'm open to a wide range of outcomes here, but I'm not going to pick that right now. I still think that Steelers team is going to be pretty decent. I still think they're going to have a pretty good defense. And if it's a low-scoring game, you're talking about a 10 a.m. start. You're talking about traveling 3,000 miles to get to Pittsburgh. It's a lot to overcome. It's one of these ugly games where maybe the defense holds Pittsburgh to like 16 points, but you still lose. The offense is not going to just hit the ground running and run over everybody. Maybe if we played the Steelers in week 13, maybe I'd feel differently, but week 2, it just feels like a loss. Week 3, we've got the Saints at home. This one should be pretty easy. Saints should be one of the worst teams in the league this year. I don't think they're much of a threat. So I'm looking at that one as a relatively peaceful win. I'm picking Seattle at home, and I think the Saints are going to be in on the very top ends of the draft. They might win 3 or 4 games this year, and they're due for that. Before I go any further, I want to tell you about my friends over at Sleeper. If you're not using Sleeper this year, you are missing out. Look at all the great stuff you can get up to over there. Look at all the great picks you can make. Let's make some picks for this weekend. My entry is Jahmyr Gibbs with an anytime touchdown. I think that Green Bay run defense is going to get hurt a little bit by losing Kenny Clark. I've got Malik Neighbors. I got that one on sale. He only has to get to 64 receiving yards. He could do that in one play in that Giants-Washington game that I think will be pretty high scoring. I've also got Brock Bowers over 63.5 receiving yards. Who else is Gino going to throw the ball to? And Bucky Irving with an anytime touchdown. I think that Tampa Bay-Atlanta game is going to be pretty high scoring. I say he gets in the end zone. So go check out Sleeper. Use promo code SBN, and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Okay, then we're going to Arizona Thursday night. Not a fan of playing Thursday night football on the road. That's never fun. But I don't think that Arizona team is where a lot of people seem to be imagining them. I think that there is still a lot that they need to improve on. I think that there's still a lot going on with that team that is not where it needs to be for them to be a true winner yet. I think that their offense is still kind of, it's just kind of stuck in a place of mediocrity. I don't think they're going to be appreciably better than last year. The big improvements they've made are on that defensive line, but I still don't think that secondary is much of anything special. And they've got some injuries on that defensive line to start out that are going to hold them back from being what they were hoping they were going to be earlier in the offseason. So being aware of the risk of picking a road team on Thursday night, I am going to pick Seattle to beat the Cardinals here. And we get to 3-1. Tampa Bay comes to Seattle. This is a this is not a primetime game, but we do play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I am a little wary of Tampa Bay this year. They lost their great offensive coordinator, Liam Cohn, and we don't know how the replacement's going to do. And they also will probably not have Tristan Wirfs for this game, and he's their best player. But I still think that Tampa Bay team should be pretty good offensively. They've got a lot of talent. They're loaded at receiver. They've got a really, really fun offense that it seems like Gizzard, I think his name is, Josh Grizzard, I believe his name is the new OC, is going to carry forward. So I'm going to say Tampa Bay gets us. So that is now 3-2. And then we go to Jacksonville. And this is another one where it's like, we got to travel across the country, 10 a.m., playing the Jaguars, 3,000 miles. The good news is, I guess it's in October, so it's not like the weather should be oppressively hot, but it could be an issue. We've seen better Seahawks teams than this one melt in hot weather. So I'm wary. I think Jacksonville's going to be a decent team this year, but I think Seattle's going to go ahead and come out on top here. I think that Jacksonville is missing something to be a truly good team. They may win that division. In fact, I think that they will, but it's not going to be because they're some great team. It's going to be because they are they're just better than everyone else in that division, which is not saying that much. So 4-2 now, and then we've got the Houston Texans. This is a Monday night game. This is 7 p.m., very late, which probably hurts Houston more than us. And I'm looking at that Houston team, and I'm thinking to myself, they've got some real holes you can take advantage of. No idea what's going to be going on at wide receiver for that team this year. They might be good, and we'll probably know by the time this game starts if they're good or not, but they completely had to flip over their receiver room and start again. And I like what they did, but that doesn't mean it's going to work immediately. It might take a whole year for them to really get to where they want to get to. That interior defensive line is very soft. I think you can run on them all day. And, of course, the big one, their offensive line looks like a catastrophe. It looks like it's going to be one of the worst offensive lines in football. So I'm picking Seattle. I think they can take advantage of all that and go to the bye week at 5-2, feeling pretty good about themselves. So coming off that bye week, they face maybe the toughest game of the year. I'm not sure. It's hard to know. A lot of people seem a little bit cold on this Commanders team, but I'm not. The way I see it, that offense shouldn't lose that much from last year, and there's no way Dan Quinn is going to abide by having a bad defense again this season. He has to get in there and at least improve it somewhat to make it where it's at least passable. I know they didn't add a ton of great players. They added like Von Miller, who may or may not have anything left. I understand that they didn't upgrade the talent, but the results have to be a little bit better. You're getting them prime time. It's another game where you're traveling 3,000 miles across country to play. I think Washington's going to win, and I think that might be the toughest game of the season for Seattle. So now I'm at 5-3. Then we got week 10 hosting Arizona, a 1 o'clock start, so a little bit of a return to normalcy here. And again, it's just going to be hard for me to take Arizona all that seriously until they beat us. Seattle has beaten Arizona 7 times in a row. But if we get to the point where they beat us, then maybe I'll have to reconsider my point of view. But I'm kind of looking at this and going, okay, can you prove it? Can you prove it? And I'm not really buying that a team like Arizona, which I think is not a very good matchup for where Seattle is right now, is going to roll into Seattle and win. So I got the Seahawks winning that game. Week 11, we're playing the Rams in LA. Always tough to figure out anything with this Rams team right now. We really need to see Stafford for a few weeks, see where he is. We know he's going to play, but is he going to play well? Is he going to play great? Is he going to play okay? Is he going to play bad? It's a little bit of a mystery right now, but for the moment, it looks like Stafford's going to play. Winning in LA is a pain. So I'm going to say the Rams get us this time, and that is going to be a Seahawks loss. Okay, now we are coming out of that 6-4. We need to get some wins to right the ship here. Traveling to Tennessee, I like getting this game late in the season because, again, the weather should not be oppressively hot. I'm going to say it again. It was actually in Tennessee 8 years ago. I remember the Seahawks went to Tennessee in week 3, and it was over 100 degrees, and they just melted. They were not ready to play that game. And there was a point in that game where I think they were down by like 4 touchdowns, and then they almost came back and won it. But I don't want to play in that kind of weather. And playing this game in week 12 increases the odds that it's going to be reasonable conditions. Other than that, I don't think Tennessee's going to be all that good this year. They've got a rookie quarterback. They're headed in the right direction slowly but surely. But I'm looking at that team and I'm not seeing much talent. I'm not seeing much of anything to get concerned about. I think Seattle goes in there, takes care of business, wins on the road. So that takes us to 7-4. And especially in this circumstance, we're going to need this one. We just lost 2 of 3 coming off the bye week in my projection. So we're going to need it. Okay, so 7-4 now, and we're coming back home to play a very interesting Vikings squad. Vikings are tough this year, tough to figure out. On the one hand, I think they made a downgrade at quarterback. I'm not a believer in J.J. McCarthy, but that team really went to the mattresses trying to put together a great team to put around J.J. McCarthy. They beefed up that defense. They redid the offensive line. That is a Vikings team that should be able to do pretty well, even if their quarterback is not very good. But I still think that that downgrade is going to make the difference in a game like this. So I'm going to say the Seahawks win at home. I'm going to say they take care of the Vikings, and they move to, 8-4 at this point? 8-4? Let's check. Yeah, 8-4. Looking pretty good. That takes us to week 14 in Atlanta. And I say this every time before we play the Falcons, and it doesn't always pan out the way I'm expecting, but I maintain that that Falcons team is very dangerous in their dome. If they have skilled position players on offense, which they do, maybe it's not on the level of what they used to have, but they've got a quarterback that can get their playmakers the ball, and they've got some really talented players there. Even a guy like Kyle Pitts is very talented. You've got, Drake London. You've got Bijan Robinson. I think they are a threat. Maybe they're not a threat to be a great team, but you catch them at home, they can just turn the game into a track meet. That's what I say every time we play in Atlanta. So I'm going to say the Falcons get us. I'm going to say that's going to be kind of the surprise loss. I'm going to say that's going to be kind of the loss that maybe throws some people for a little bit of a loop. But not me, because I think that Atlanta team is going to be explosive offensively, even if they're not a great team. Week 15, we take on the Colts at home. Colts, who knows who's going to be playing quarterback by this point, but it doesn't really matter that much. That should not be a very good team. By this point, they may have stripped themselves naked with the trade deadline. So I think Seattle's going to win. I don't really care who's playing quarterback. They may have traded some of their offensive linemen by this point. They've got a couple pieces on defense they could have traded. It seems like the year where things in Indy just kind of detonate. And I imagine by this point, the detonation will have occurred. So now 9-5, looking pretty good. And this next one is a big one. At home against the Rams on Thursday Night Football, the day before my birthday. This one may decide the division. Hard to know. Really hard to project that kind of stuff. But you're getting them at home. You're getting the Rams at home. By week 16, Stafford, either he's going to be out or he's going to be worn to the nub. You got to believe that he's not going to make it in a good state to week 16. So you're probably going to have that working for you. And overall, I think that Rams team is just going to be a little beat up by this point. and I think they'll be a team that you can push over. So I say Seahawks win. And I think that one could end up making the difference. Week 17, we travel to Carolina. We got the Saturday game as of right now. I think that all these times are TBD. They don't know when the games are actually going to start. They'll decide later in the season when they know which games are going to matter. But for the moment, they have us earmarked for Saturday, I guess. And I know Carolina is a little bit of a trendy pick to have made some improvements this year. I don't think it's going to be very big. I think that there's still a lot holding that team back. I am worried about traveling to Carolina, of course, but I just don't think there's enough going on over there. And also, this is week 17. Carolina will probably be eliminated from the playoffs by this point, and they are probably going to be basically just waiting for the season to wrap up. They're thinking about Cabo. So I'm going to say Seattle wins. And final game of the year, playing San Fran on the road. I think that there's a pretty decent chance San Fran really needs this win. Seattle might not need this win as much. They're going to be 11-5 if I'm right. Maybe they'll need the win a lot. Maybe they won't. But they're going to be on a 3-game win streak. They're going to be on a 4-1 streak overall. Or excuse me, actually 5-1. I think that this is the one where they kind of they come up just a little bit soft, and I'm going to say San Fran gets them. The one caveat I would say is that by this point in the season, San Fran could be getting nothing out of Kittle and nothing out of Trent Williams because those guys are older players. Week 18, who knows? Who knows if they're even going to be able to give much Week 18? So that would be the caveat. But I think that San Fran team should still be decent as long as they can keep the top end of their depth chart healthy. Where they lack is depth. But that is pick for pick, blow for blow. Where I stand, I come out at 11-6. That's better than where I thought it was going to be. Before the, well, actually, immediately after the draft, when the schedule came out, I said 10 wins. And I still think that 10 wins is like the floor. If we don't win at least 10 games this year, I think that we have to start asking some very tough questions about the decision makers with this organization. But I've ended up landing on 11. And I think the door is open to potentially do better. Pittsburgh could lay an egg at home. They might just not be a very good team this year. That's totally on the table. Aaron Rodgers won 4 games with the Jets last year, or 5 or something. I can't remember. But it wasn't good, right? A team like Tampa Bay could be a little bit crippled when you play them in week 5. There are teams like, if Washington does take a big step back, like some people are predicting, then maybe. But the door is open to do better, but I'm going to go with 11-6 for now. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys soon. Go Hawks. That's what I got.